yes, indeed. Pleasant good night to all and sundry. I saw you caught me napping there. But of course, the music was so nice that I enjoyed it really.
Now, foundation, grassroots, you got to know the truth. If you don't know where you're coming from, you don't know where to go. Love the culture, Anthony Selassie. Say so.
Long ago.
Long time ago.
Yes, long ago. Pirates had their fun in the burning sun. 16 men.
16 men.
And a dead man's chest. Yo, yo, yo. And a bottle of rum.
Summertime. Money them a bet. We see what kind of baby mama she a get. Is it a king? Is it a princess? So you see me generation travel through this track.
16 men.
16 days.
And a dead man's chest. Yo, 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 yo.
Sounds kind of funny, but that's true.
Long ago. Hey. Yes, long ago. Pirates had their fun. In the burning sun. Oh,
Jaja.
Yo, yo, yo.
Well, this is more than history, more than mystery.
The political leader of Love, Lennox Smith, has insisted that every Trimbagonian must be concerned with the bordering subversive statements by PNM rejected San Fernando West candidate Al Wary, that includes giving the present government 12 months or the deliberately false utterance, there will be mass retrenchment in CPEP and URP by the present government, representing Al Wary and PNM's power greed desperation and shamelessly not accepting that both were defeated at the April 28th general elections. Smith added that this level of deliberate misrepresentation and no doubt incitement Al Wary and the PNM's leadership conscientiously attempting to rally their waning political troops must be irksomely frustrating for these anti-democratic PNM mules, falling on unfertile ears as they have, and will not produce the unpatriotic traction intended to spur action in the minute PNM acknowledge and increasingly emaciated following.
What I'm absolutely sure about is that I give the UNC maximum 12 months before they implode.
There are 10,000 CPEP workers, 10,000 URP workers.
Let's start that over again because, excuse me, I'm sure that many of you can't believe your ears. Well, it's a fact, a pellucid fact. Recorded, taped, of course, and of course now edited and delivered to you out of a press conference. But the first stanza, the first aspect of that, what I consider to be treasonous act, because he likes to talk about, of course, legitimate expectations, converting, of course, an opinion into a legitimate expectation. Well, I think I have the journalistic elasticity, the journalistic, what I consider to be right to convert what he has said into a treasonous act, even though some may be much more what I consider to be lenient and say seditious. But let's hear him again. Or is it that he has gone mad? You know, these days, of course, the mad talk from Rowley, etc., because you see, I always believe in those who are in themselves, seeing what others are, in a bout of what is called self-righteous indignation, and it's always the other person and not them Well, in fact, they are central, they are pivotal to whatever they are accusing others of. Let's hear Al-Wari again.
The political leader of Love, Lennox Smith, has insisted that every Trimbagonian must be concerned with the bordering subversive statements by PNM rejected San Fernando West candidate, Al-Wari, that includes giving the present government 12 months, or the deliberately false utterance, there will be mass retrenchment in CPEP and URP by the present government, representing Al-Wari and PNM's power greed desperation and shamelessly not accepting that both were defeated at the April 28th general elections. Smith added that this level of deliberate misrepresentation and no doubt incitement Al-Wari and the PNM's leadership conscientiously attempting to rally their waning political troops must be irksomely frustrating for these anti-democratic PNM mules, falling on unfertile ears as they have, and will not produce the unpatriotic traction intended to spur action in the minute PNM acknowledge and increasingly emaciated following.
What I'm absolutely sure about is that I give the UNC maximum 12 months before they implode.
There are 10,000 CPEP workers, 10,000 URP workers, 2,700 forestry workers, daily paid workers. There are thousands of contract workers. I understand that there are mass firings. I understand that people are being threatened.
The political leader of Love, Lennox Smith, has insisted that every Trimbagonian must be concerned with the bordering subversive statements by PNM rejected San Fernando West candidate, Al-Wari, that includes giving the present government 12 months, or the deliberately false utterance, there will be mass retrenchment in CPEP and URP by the present government, representing Al-Wari and PNM's power greed desperation and shamelessly not accepting that both were defeated at the April 28th general elections. Smith added that this level of deliberate misrepresentation and no doubt incitement Al-Wari and the PNM's leadership conscientiously attempting to rally their waning political troops must be irksomely frustrating for these anti-democratic PNM mules, falling on unfertile ears as they have, and will not produce the unpatriotic traction intended to spur action in the minute PNM acknowledge and increasingly emaciated following.
Yes, indeed. And what does that statement simply mean? Yes, it was all over, of course, social media today. And I thought it was important to target them because clearly they have been targeting us. And I say us here simply because I am involved and my party is involved as part of the coalition of interests led by, of course, the venerable Prime Minister and very accomplished stateswoman, with, of course, the very venerable, meaning that very sacred, very respected UNC. And we have a duty and responsibility, all of us, to put an end to these reckless, unfounded, brutal, sensationalization-oriented, callous, and of course, irrelevant statements for the times that we are in, left by, of course, a maroon bunch of individuals who, of course, captured government and the toxicity that they imposed and the reckless and brutal behavior that they exhibited when they were in office prior to the 28th of April, we must call them out. They could say what they want. The fact is that he said that. And of course, don't be surprised, any port for a storm, they would start to say, well, they didn't mean it so. And they didn't intend to say what they said, all of that. Those are, of course, signs and elements of mad people who are clearly power mongers and cannot stomach the fact that they have lost, in spite of the fact that they boasted of their longevity and that they could never lose, and that, of course, the PNM is of a different standard. Yeah, they talked all of that hogwash. We heard them. And then the reality is that they morphed into, of course, a criminal enterprise called the PNM. And of course, I say that without fear of contradiction, and I repeat and regurgitate every opportunity I get. They have to tell us how come they were able in 9 years to accumulate over $100 million to construct that monstrosity called PNM headquarters, Balize House, having, of course, told us in no uncertain terms that they were owing in 2015 over $5 million to banks and to various media houses. Tell us, Rowley, tell us George Young, tell us Penelope Beckles, tell us where that money came from. No, you believe, or all you believe, and you here is plural. You know, you have first person, second person, third person, and then of course second person plural. Well, I'm talking second person plural. Yes, second person plural. Where they told us that they were bankrupt. That is what Rowley said on behalf of all of them. And they have the audacity, the temerity, and the gall and the effrontery to come in our faces, having lost an election, believing that somehow, by some epiphany, by some enigma, they can sanitize themselves by talking that kind of hogwash. You see, they see in others that which is in them. The UNC and the coalition never said that they are going on a retrenching spree. But here this man, this madman, this mentally deranged fella, this cognitive and cerebral declining individual, telling us that he here, that the UNC and of course the coalition of interests led by the Prime Minister, Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, will be engaged in the wishful thinking that was not wishful thinking when they took over government in 2015. And there is something much more sinister than what you are hearing from him, you know. It's much more sinister. You see, when he says mass retrenchment of CPEP workers and URP workers, and of course on the campaign trail, the UNC and the coalition of interest said, we are going to expand employment opportunities and we're going to begin with targeting 50,000 new jobs. Here he is. Here he is contradicting to suggest that somehow that was only a election gimmick. You see in us that which is in them, and has always been so for the past 9 years that they would have been in office. Don't tell me you don't know that Rowley and them said that they were not going to interfere with the subsidy. Don't tell me that, and therefore no gas prices, etc. would have been raised. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me you don't know that, of course, they said they will not, because it is an evil tax, property tax. And thank God, all of you, including, of course, the acknowledgement that over 100,000 persons deflected away, moved away from the PNM to make certain that the 26 seats that were given, the lucky they get 13. Because I was saying and advocating all 39, and it may well be, there may well be an additional one to that 36. But as I keep saying, because we are looking at the information and we are digging and we are unearthing more and more information, that Rowley and they were prepared and preferred to concede defeat than to lose a Laventil seat. I saw in one of the videos, and maybe it might have been my fault, that of course, when they did the research, even though we mentioned at the press conference last Friday that we were at, and I will call the journalist just to apologize and correct. I'm man enough to do that. My integrity and my sense of what I consider to be fairness, honesty, and indeed, in the interest of transparency and accountability, I will, of course, communicate with the journalists who went and checked the records and realized that there was no love candidate registered by the EBC. You see, she may not have known, just like the OWTU candidates, the ones that won La Brea and Point Fortin, that our candidate, Robert Mitchell, the symbol that we agreed that the electorate will, of course, be attracted to or would cast the vote against, that's the UNC symbol, just as OWTU did. Of course, PEP did not go that route, nor did COP, but we went that route. And of course, the performance by that amalgamation, marvelous. And we are yet to get all of the information relating to the outcome of that election as far as our candidate is concerned, Robert Mitchell. So I just want to make or clear the record. So just in case you would have seen the article, or you would have seen, of course, the broadcast, or you would have seen, of course, that video or that news item. Those were the circumstances that caused love not to be recorded in the, let's say, on the records or in the data of the EBC. So I cannot give the journalists wrong in the absence of an explanation, which of course I ought to have done when I was talking about our candidate. And of course, it might have, at that point in time, I didn't see it as necessary. But certainly now that the video or the news item is in the public domain, then of course nothing wrong. Nothing wrong in my saying my apology for, of course, not mentioning that our candidate went under the symbol of the UNC. But it does not take away the fact that it is our candidate. For, of course, the arrangement between the UNC and the coalition of interests. So I want to clear up that. But let's go a little further, because you see the dishonesty of Alwari, deliberate, I want to say conscious, and malicious. Because you see, the intention of that statement is to do two things. Two things. One, to try to tell the faithfuls and the sycophants and the apologists and those who, of course, are engaged, believing that somehow the PNM will come back because they have this fantasy. They have this a propensity, they have this inclination that that party that clearly is now not only in the doldrums, but also is on its way to extinction and would be in the annals of history, 1, and 2, towards the dustbin of history in Trinidad and Tobago. Let's not waste time. That is what's going to happen to them. But the second one, I think, is very important as well. The second reason for that statement that he would have made, suggesting that somehow that the present administration will, of course, have mass firing or engage in mass firing. Yes, there's a second reason for it. And that second reason is not only to get political traction, but also to telegraph to the population that somehow they are on their way back to political, what I consider to be viability. But that and a pink donkey they will not see. That and a pink donkey they will not see. The people have spoken. April 28th was decision day, and they voted resoundingly in favor of the UNC led by Kamala Prasad Bisesa, and of course the coalition of interests that includes, of course, Love, PEP, the OWTU, and of course several other trade unions that were sympathetic. In fact, one of the major achievements as announced and pronounced by the current leader of the PSA is her satisfaction, gratification, and acceptance that they contributed to the unseating or the getting rid of that diabolical, evil, wicked, insincere, lacking of transparency and accountability. It was prepared, of course, to breach the rule of law, the separation of powers, and indeed interfere with constitutionally protected institutions such as the Police Service Commission, such as the Office of the President, such as, of course, that of institutions like that of the Petrotrin, that they cause, of course, its demise, consequential of the fake oil matter. Let us not waste time. We know, and we therefore must call them out. So therefore, to attempt this, what I consider is slipshod, and attempt at the same time to undermine the present administration in such a short space of time, it tells you how anxious and how, of course, desperate they are. You see, there's another, what I consider to be intrinsic but not obvious. Let me repeat. Intrinsic but not obvious issue that is built in to that particular statement that was made, and that is the investigations, and it's plural here, the investigations that must be conducted in the conduct of the various ministers, members of cabinet, and other, of course, non-cabinet entities such as those that would have been, and nowadays we are seeing that they are challenging not leaving the boardrooms. But of course we are talking about state enterprises and those persons who would have, of course, engaged to the point where it would have been inimical to the interests of Trinidad and Tobago, the responsibility that they would have been given in those respective and varied institutions that are called state enterprises. We're going to find out. And they are mortally afraid, I'm talking about Al-Wari and they are mortally afraid of the silence that the present administration has, of course, engaged in at this point in time, not to telling them anything, so they are engaged, of course, in dog whistling. They are anxious. They are intemperate. They are in a state of discombobulation. And indeed, when people are guilty, it is normal when people are guilty and you give them what is called, of course, a lie detector test. It brings out by some biological, what I consider to be process, the guilt of the individual. Yes. They cannot exculpate themselves at the appropriate time. And I'm saying that from the point of view of the deafening silence of the present administration on these matters. Notice they're talking Trinidad and Tobago business, economy. They're talking about getting the Ministry of the People going, etc. But notice they ain't talking about anything coming out of the office of the what? Of the Attorney General about, of course, white-collar crime that was clearly rampant during the Rowley and later, of course, Stuart Young administration. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night to welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night, welcome to the corridor. Let me see what's happening here. Pleasant good night, welcome to the corridor. I may have a slight problem, I believe. I did not disconnect something that I ought to have disconnected. So, I'm not hearing you. Call back caller. Let me just get that corrected. I'm not getting you at all. So there may have been something that I interfered with earlier. Yes, I'm seeing it here. Wait, yeah. Just now, caller. All right, so everything is there. All right, so one thing I didn't do. All right, yes. Let me just play some music, and then I will get to that problem, and then we will return. Let me play Al-Wari again, so you'll have an appreciation as to what the issue is all about. Let me start from the beginning. Yes, indeed.
The political leader of Love, Lennox Smith, has insisted that every Trimbagonian must be concerned with the bordering subversive statements by PNM rejected San Fernando West candidate, Al-Wari, that includes giving the present government 12 months, or the deliberately false utterance, there will be mass retrenchment in CPEP and URP by the present government, representing Al-Wari and PNM's power greed desperation, and shamelessly not accepting that both were defeated at the April 28th general elections. Smith added that this level of deliberate misrepresentation and no doubt incitement Al-Wari and the PNM's leadership conscientiously attempting to rally their waning political troops must be irksomely frustrating for these anti-democratic PNM mules, falling on unfertile ears as they have, and will not produce the unpatriotic traction intended to spur action in the minute PNM acknowledge and increasingly emaciated following.
What I'm absolutely sure about is that I give the UNC maximum 12 months before they implode.
There are 10,000 CPEP workers, 10,000 URP workers, 2,700 forestry workers, daily paid workers. There are thousands of contract workers. I understand that there are mass firings. I understand that people are being threatened.
The The political leader of Love, Lennox Smith, has insisted that every
Let's say it
Trimbagonian
one more
must be
time.
concerned with the bordering subversive statements by PNM rejected San Fernando West candidate, Al Wary, that includes giving the present government 12 months, or the deliberately false utterance, there will be mass retrenchment in CPEP and URP by the present government, representing Al Wary and PNM's power greed desperation and shamelessly not accepting that both were defeated at the April 28th general elections. Smith added that this level of deliberate misrepresentation and no doubt incitement Al Wary and the PNM's leadership conscientiously attempting to rally their waning political troops must be irksomely frustrating for these anti-democratic PNM mules, falling on unfertile ears as they have, and will not produce the unpatriotic traction intended to spur action in the minute PNM acknowledge and increasingly emaciated following.
What I'm absolutely sure about is that I give the UNC maximum 12 months before they implode.
There are 10,000 CPEP workers, 10,000 URP workers, 2,700 forestry workers, daily paid workers. There are thousands of contract workers. I understand that there are mass firings. I understand that people are being threatened.
The political leader of Love, Lennox Smith, has insisted that every Trimbagonian must be concerned with the bordering subversive statements by PNM rejected San Fernando West candidate, Al Wary.
Yes, indeed. And they fail to realize, and as I said, they're emaciated numbers, their rank and file. They acknowledge that over 100,000 persons left them, didn't vote for them. And he's so stupid in his analysis. He is saying the last time they crossed the floor, and I'm talking about in 2010, and I saw, of course, the UNC, and of course its partners then got the kind of support that they did. On this occasion, he said they stay home. So they could find their voters because they stay home. That dunderhead, that nincompoop, that asinine specimen of inhumanity, that brittlehead, engaged, of course, in what is a classic case of cognitive dissonance. Let's go to the line and see if I would have corrected that faux pas earlier. Let's see. A pleasant good night and welcome to the corridor. I hope that is corrected.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I hear you. Are you hearing me?
All right, good. Thank you very much. Of course, I wasn't holding my breath, but certainly I was crossing my fingers because you know, I mean, if I hold my breath, you know, it takes you longer to expire, and I didn't want to expire on this program. But go ahead.
All right, there's Digger Martin inside, opening the battle.
Yes, man. I saw Mr. Faizabad earlier, but like you beat him to the crease, so to speak. Go ahead.
Right, because I come in with short ball, left, right, and center, you know.
I hear you, my friend. It's about time. These fellas and them don't know the place, and they need to be put where they ought to be. That's been a political history. Go ahead.
Let us talk first about the central bank governor. Why is he failing to give full disclosure of the happenings in the central bank? Apparently, when the general KPB said that something is wrong in the central bank, apparently we will hear more about it when they lay in Parliament the Auditor General report for 2024. It appears that in an article in, I think, one of the newspaper, indicated that Hilaire has said the central bank no longer uses the Auditor General as the external auditor.
What?
Apparently, he has changed it to another auditor. Why did he do that? Is it in collusion to get a favorable outcome? Because I suspect once you change auditors, you will have to pay a lofty sum of money. And that is where we as taxpayers are affected. So he has something to hide. One of the critical things, if you look on the central bank website, as of the 31st of December 2023, the Auditor General was the external auditor for the central bank. He has changed it, apparently he has changed it, and he has not put that out in the public domain until last week. Why is he secretive? We want to know where the $2.6 billion has gone. And I'm hoping that I don't get the unfortunate news that Vibes Cartel have a direct line with him because it's foreign exchange approval to leave this country, and who in the banking system, which bank might have been facilitated by his secret dealings. So we have to do that. And I don't want them to use the kangaroo protocol, you know. You know the kangaroo protocol? When Weeks went on vacation, she played musical chairs with the presidency office, and she got rid of Rambaran. I see we have a same case. We have the boy as president now, you know. So
yes. I know he's acting, but I can assure you that none such shenanigan will take place in this case. Maybe the opposite will be the case.
The other issue that is circulating is this thing about freedom of information and why the former PNM government has been so opaque with freedom and transparency with respect to particular issues. I saw a statement from the former Guyana Ramlogan about 5 cases are yet to be delivered. The Darryl Brown issue, and you name it. The recent one is the Naikwan issue, where the judge said it's deplorable that the government failed to disclose an investigation that resulted in the guy who was working at Naikwan for Neil and Massey. Who are they protected? And whilst I am on that issue, what happened to the Coast Guard guy that lost his life in a submarine? That is 30, 40 days now. And the well services gentleman who has lost his life, and we are hearing nothing from those things. Who are they protected? Well, sooner or later, all these freedom of information will come via judgment, and we'll see who's culpable. We should post to start building more jails, you know. Now, the last point, and I feel something is happening with when that fella they called Fitzy went into the Ministry of National Security. Something is happening there. Because I saw KCR opening up his mouth with respect to the Honorable General who stand her ground on the encroachment of the Maduro et al. PNM diatribe, trying to frighten and intimidate our Prime Minister. I want KCR to remember that the Coast Guard 2 or 3 years ago shot at a migrant vessel, killing a toddler. And according to KCR, you don't shoot first. You seek diplomacy. But you know that investigation has not been publicized. Why are they hiding it? Must be. Let
me just get a grip as to what you're talking about. That last one. Which one is that? The one, the incident in the sea?
Yeah, remember
okay.
a migrant
And the
boat was
child,
coming
yeah,
across.
when the child got shot.
Right.
Right, okay, good, okay.
And,
I want to make
and
sure.
what I'm saying, KCR is trying to utter some advice to the ordinary, our General Kamala Prasad says.
Oh yeah. Well, he made a one shot. He used one word to say
Right.
that is madness.
But he couldn't remember.
And I'm sure that he would have
Coast
gone
Guard,
on to say
when they
why it is
shot
madness.
the child,
Yeah.
they didn't ask question first. They say the boat tried to be evasive and they tried to shoot at the engine and they missed the engine and they killed the child.
Yeah.
That investigation is going on for about 3 years.
Yeah.
Read it. If you read the UK newspaper, The Guardian, the Daily Telegraph, they're asking where is the investigation for that? That has tremendous information with respect to what was done. And I don't know if it's UN to get a file.
Well, I see that
Or
that I think another major one that ought to be focused upon is that of the Brent Thomas matter as well. Eh?
Yeah. It's a
And,
25 inside there on
and
him,
there is speculation that Hines would have gone to the ministry the way that he did, clandestine, cloak and dagger style, and of course almost incognito, but of course somebody saw him and raised the alarm, and they said it might have been in an attempt to, of course, confiscate evidence or destroy evidence. Yeah.
That judgment could come down anytime, you know. The judge said in September last year he would give a verdict on it, and I find it taking long.
All right.
That could happen anytime now.
Yeah, but the fact is that there is no evidence to say, from what I know in the public domain, that Hines authorized the use of that plane to go and kidnap a Trinidad and Tobago citizen in Barbados. There is there is no that I think is the crux of the thing. Yeah.
Is that the BKCR and the National Security Council?
Yes.
Have authorized that, so even we're in trouble too.
Yeah. So that is what I'm interested in. Who gave authorization? Because all of them, they had non-disclosure. They took a vow of silence.
Right.
But the matter is still there that somebody would have authorized that to, according to the judge, to kidnap a Trinidad and Tobago citizen in a foreign land. And even in the foreign land, there was an issue because that was supposed to initiate extraditing proceedings. It didn't happen. The Barbadian government acknowledged that and give the man an open check. Give him an open check and say, you say what numbers you want to put there. Yeah. All right.
And Mia will send all of that government to government in short order.
Yeah. Well, now that the situation has changed dramatically, it is clear that cooperation is here. In fact, I got a sense that cooperation is really what I consider to be. She made an overture by coming here for the inauguration of Parliament, which tells me that the cooperation is really at a high level.
Well, Leslie, go and measure the man wrist. So when they want silver bracelet,
yes,
we can get them in size.
All right, thanks very much for your intervention as usual. But people, of course, I think of all of them, we talked about the Brent matter while he was talking. Let's go straight to the line. Sorry about that. But let me say quickly, I wanted to focus on the Naikwan matter because I think that is important because it has implications just as that of the 4 divers that found the end of their life in that pipeline initiated by Paria, was it? Go ahead, my friend. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, good night, Mr. Lennox. Good night.
Yeah, good night.
I want to take a turn in Gatsby Dolly because it seemed to me for the 5 years she was the Minister of Education, she was playing Dolly House. She's on a platform yesterday,
Yeah.
or whenever, saying that she had reports about these children that were victimizing other children. Bullies are talking about hyenas, as Dr. Roddy called them. And she said on a report and say, it's PNM people children that was allegedly perpetrating this act. And she said, oh, let's see who is doing this. She tried to make it look like it's an African kind of thing. But all them children are citizens of this country. And if them victimizing somebody else's child, it ain't no African and no Indian in that, you know. It is a wrong. And I think when the chips fall, let it fall, regarding of whoever color is. Once you're victimizing somebody else's child, they have to suffer the consequences of what it is. And she's talking about expel and all this other thing. I don't care, Lennox. Them children victimized a lot of children over the last 10 years. She should have gone and watch that, right? And have people, children who were suffering because of that type of violence on them, scared. They're so affected by that thing, they leave scars on them. Remember you see what you're talking on the fella?
Yes.
Well, that what happened to a lot of these children down here, right? And for government like she, who was Minister of Education, to come and talk the foolish, and she should never be around a school again for the rest of her life. Former Education Minister. And I siding with the Prime Minister, what she said to do, because a lot of people fed up. And they said to lock them up, lock up their parents too, because at the end of the day, the parents are to get some kind of responsibility for that too. It's them children perpetrating criminal acts on other people's children, you know. And this has gone on for too long. And they take a woman with some kind of testicular fortitude I'm talking about, to come and do what this wicked PNM government couldn't do for the last 10 years. They sit down there and watch people suffer, right? And being victimized. People even commit suicide. You know about that. Dolly, she could go back and play Dolly House on the red couch, part the set, the tree dog, and the parrots, and go there. I know the red couch is now, but she should go there now.
I hear you, my friend. I hear you, my friend. But I suspect, and I don't think I'm wrong, that video began to circulate when, of course, the PNM, in its usual opportunistic way, tried to, of course, decry and to, of course, suddenly having a sense of self-righteous indignation, said that what Kamala Prasad-Bissessar proposed, the Prime Minister proposed, was not one that should have been appropriate for the infringements by these students. Well, of course, so that video obviously was being circulated just to show them how hypocritical they are. Go ahead, my friend from Point 14. Go ahead.
Hey, Lennox Smith, a pleasant good night to you.
Pleasant good night to you as well, my friend. Yes, go ahead.
I want to get a few minutes time. I want you and to the listening public.
Yes.
I want to listen to this. I want to play you.
Not a
Hold on,
Yeah, go ahead.
Brought us a stack of sources detailing a really tense situation that just flared up between Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela.
Yeah, it kicked off, early June 2025. Some pretty serious accusations coming from President Maduro and Diaz-Canel over in Venezuela.
Right, and our mission in this deep dive is, trying to zero in on the most crucial facts, the insights buried in all this material.
And what immediately jumps out, looking at these sources, is the timing. It feels, significant.
How so?
Well, these claims pop up right around Venezuela's election period. And maybe just as importantly, right after Trinidad and Tobago got a new government, May 1st.
Prime Minister Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, just took office. And she ran on that whole security first platform, didn't she?
Exactly, campaigned hard on it.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting, according to your sources. The Venezuelan officials, they claimed they captured a large group.
Yeah, up to 70 people. Said they were heavily armed terrorists, Colombians, Serbs, Spaniards, a mix.
Okay, and the crucial plank, the one connecting it back to TNT,
is that they alleged these individuals entered Venezuela from TNT, came across the Caribbean Sea, supposedly loaded with weapons of war.
Wow. Cabello even, claimed they nabbed a specific Trinidadian national.
He did. mentioned a Kendall Jerome or Chris Kendall Jerome, and issued a pretty direct threat, didn't he, about going after the gangs wherever they are.
Okay, so really high stakes stuff demanded a strong reaction from TNT, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. And your sources show the response from Port of Spain. Well, it was swift and layered, starting with PM Prasad Desai just flat out denying it.
A categorical denial. She said there's no evidence from their side to back up any of Venezuela's claims, including catching a TNT national.
Right. And they launched an investigation straight away. Ministry of Defense, under Minister Wayne Sturge.
It found
nothing, basically. No preliminary evidence anyway. And crucially, TNT's coastal radar didn't pick up that kind of activity.
And Venezuela hasn't provided proof, photos, anything.
Not according to these sources, no. No concrete evidence shared so far.
Okay, so faced with that denial, the lack of evidence, TNT didn't just stop at refuting it, did they? The PM issued a warning.
A stern one. Declared TNT territory off limits to Venezuelan incursions. Told them, think twice before crossing the border.
And it wasn't just talk. There's this mention of consulting on authorizing the Coast Guard to use deadly force.
Yeah. Against unauthorized vessels from Venezuela, that's a significant potential shift in posture.
And the sources highlight specific language there. Military able-bodied men and women. That phrasing seems quite pointed.
It really does. It sort of frames the perceived threat very specifically, doesn't it? Not just any boat, but individuals seen as potential combatants. It suggests a real hardening of the potential response.
Which connects directly back to the TNT's domestic situation, right?
Yeah.
That security force platform you mentioned.
Exactly. The PM explicitly linked this incident to reassessing national security and reviewing their approach to Venezuelan migrants.
Especially military-age individuals. Even suggesting they should, go home?
Yes. And your sources tie this directly to worries about rising crime. They cite the murder stats, 623 in 2024, up from 577 the year before.
And alleged links to groups like Venezuela's Trondearagua gang.
That specific group is mentioned, yeah. So this incident, real or alleged, gives the government a clear public reason to tighten borders, review migration policy, all under that security banner.
The sources also give some history, right? The PM apparently pointed out Venezuela's done this before, made propaganda comments.
She did. Mentioned similar things happening with Guyana and Colombia, usually when Venezuela was facing its own internal issues.
Which kind of suggests TNT might see this as, politically motivated. Maybe a distraction tactic around the elections.
It seems to be the implication, yeah. That Port of Spain views these claims with, let's say, some skepticism about the motive.
Fascinating. But, okay, despite all this tension, the talk, the diplomatic channels aren't completely shut.
No, the sources indicate they remain open. The foreign minister is talking to Venezuelan officials, and the defense minister, Sturge, even said TNT doesn't view the relationship as fractious.
Willing to work on it, even while beefing up border security.
It's quite the balancing act, isn't it? Firm denial, assertive security posture in public, but keeping lines open behind the scenes. They're definitely putting the burden of proof back on Venezuela.
So what does this all mean for you? Listen to this. This deep dive really lays bare a complex situation. You've got these serious external allegations crashing right into a nation's domestic security agenda, its migration policy.
It's a real case study, isn't it? How a government responds assertively to protect sovereignty, maybe address internal concerns too, especially when the claims from a neighbor might be, politically timed.
Yeah, and it leaves you with a pretty important question to think about. In a region like this, with shared borders, complex politics, how do governments tell the difference? How do you sort genuine security threats from, say, political moves disguised as security concerns?
Exactly, and beyond just military force, what other tools, what mix of strategies becomes really essential in navigating these kinds of volatile situations between neighbors? Something to mull over.
Okay, so.
All right, Lennox, so you know what's going on there. I just said I want to share that with the public. So you go take it.
All I want to find out from you is the source, where it came from.
That I saw it on TikTok though.
Oh, TikTok feature?
I think I could send the information.
Yeah, send for me. Send for me. I want to make sure that we are on the right path. You know, we love to verify what we deliver, and when we say what we mean what we say. All right. So just send. Yeah, but of course, very very interesting discussion. Clearly, it appears that is a media house. operatives that have been, of course, engaging and observing what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago, and they seem to have, of course, quite a wide knowledge of what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago today, vis-a-vis, of course, Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago, and indeed, of course, I'm sure that they would. I wouldn't be wrong if I include, of course, Guyana, and of course, the United States. All right, thank you very much.
But before I go, Lennox,
go ahead.
it have a next clipping similar to that.
All right.
I will send that one play. So
Okay.
Because they didn't mention anything about Trinidad and Tobago. It's almost like the same thing what play off here, but that is our next clipping from the US. So I will send that one to you.
All right, thanks very much. Yes, so we can
All
do
right,
some
Dr.
verification. All right. Yes, thanks very much.
Cool.
Not to say that we are questioning, of course, his integrity. If he would have recorded that in error, because the information may not be what we have heard in reality, then of course I am certain that I could vouch for him that he did it inadvertently. He did it by mistake, in other words. Let's go straight to the lines. A pleasant good night. Good night, my friend.
Yeah, you hear me good?
Loud and clear.
Right. Only God will should destroy the first in their mouth. That's your favorite thing.
Yes, certainly.
But why, if guys we don't hear going on, something going on.
Well, listen, I saw something today, and I could have swear it was AI generated, artificial intelligence. I said they're trying to set up the woman, right? Because, of course, she just said, I just criticized Kamala as to where these youths will go if, of course, you expel them from the school, etc., or you separate them from the population that wants to, of course, do their work or less violent. And then, of course, that came up where she was actually accusing PNM people for the violence that would have been in the school during her tenure. Very, very interesting indeed. But go ahead.
And don't forget, she had said, when she don't work, she don't work. If she go to one school, children fighting, that's not she business.
She said that as well. Well, all right. Well, that is additional information then.
Good. No, when there was in office, she said that.
All right.
Like, borrows and all that for that, you just jump on you and talk to school children.
All right.
She said that,
no, but you are a man, you're solid with respect to your information, so I'm not going to question that.
Yeah, of the bad part.
Yes.
She had said she's going to put them to do national service. And I kick against that. Because I say that national service, when they want to reach a smoke in the night, the security guards go get every week. But sex go take place too. That was destroying the children.
Yeah. So you from the pot into the fire, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now the Prime Minister looking to do something about them for this behavior. She gone out to the parents of the children to protest. You know why she doing that? Because they have no chance in the parliament of stopping the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
So she goes to the parents out to protest what Kamala doing.
Yes.
She's a mad one.
But yeah, I mean, all of them. It seems as though it is a pandemic inside of the PNM, because they clearly they have run out of talent. They have no talent, even whilst they were in government. Because when one looks at Hines being, of course, the Minister of National Security, you know that they run out of talent. Now that they're in opposition, and 13 of them in the 13th Parliament, they seem to be headless chicken. Nobody knows who is the leader, and even, of course, they would have ratified a leader. The leader doesn't act as a leader. In other words, as if she is in charge, and of course the others continue, of course, to ride roughshod and do what they want, say what they want at any time they want. That's how it's looking. Yeah. So it is a shambolic situation, chaotic situation, and far from, of course, what Rowley and others were telling us. There is a stable party, and of course it is well organized, etc. They may have a building that were ill-gotten, you know. But that doesn't make a stable party, obviously.
Well, when Rowdy was calling them monsters and hyenas in the African jungle and all this,
yes.
Why she could tell Rowdy don't call each other that? Why she didn't tell Rowdy I can't do that? She never did nothing good for those children. Never tried to protect them. She could have tell Rowdy, look, that this shit what you're doing, you have to stop it. Why she didn't do it? Eh? No,
well, all of them seem to be stricken with this malaise, you know, with this disease because of stupidity, really, and do as I say, but don't do as I do, or put it another way. They see in others that which they were doing and practicing for the past 9 years prior to the 28th of April. It is clear. Al-Rari suddenly is saying that they're going to dismiss CPEP workers and so on. Well, they did it between 2015 and last month, April, May, well, two months ago. And everything that they're saying now that they feel that will generate the traction to make them look good, they say it only for information to come out that they are simply hypocrites and are self-righteous indignation entities that should be dismissed because of the hogwash that they're talking.
Them child was good, Lennox.
Yeah.
The days for that gone?
Yeah, they are in a state of total, I mean, disintegration. And that's a kind word.
That's a kind word where you use it?
Yeah, disintegration. They're in a state of disintegration. Nothing they could advance to the population in terms of something positive for the country. To try to criticize the present government that they have not done in the past worse, and the records are there. They believe that somehow nobody will dig up and find out that this is technologically advanced information savvy Trinidad and Tobago, not and of course, even though they try to carry Trinidad back into caveman days by removing the laptops from the young people. But the fact of the matter is that we continue, in spite of the attempts to not want Trinidad and Tobago to advance along the digital divide.
No, Lennox. When Rowdy was calling each other and all them names, right?
Yeah.
Why the parents didn't stand up and tell Rowdy where to get off?
They take that.
Apart from she telling Rowdy not to call each other that, the parents themselves had a right to tell Rowdy where to get off.
That's right.
Now she going at the parents now to go and to tell Kamala that Kamala can't implement this law she wants to implement. This woman going crazy.
But nobody ain't taking them on. Al-Rari's, should I say, sudden concern for CPEP workers and so on, and the way how we said it, believing that somehow the people of Laverton and so on who depended on this thing would react in a particular way, including violently. But they had time with he, because a party that has integrity, a woman that of course has demonstrated that she is what she says and vice versa, says that she's going to create 50,000 jobs. How dismissing CPEP workers? You know what? Is really and truly what he is concerned about is the dismissal, which is inevitable and rightfully so, of politically appointed CPEP operatives, URP, etc. Politically appointed. That is what he's concerned with. Not the other, but pulling the other people so that they could probably fight his cause for him. Well, I want to tell him, he on his own, according to, of course, Rowley. He on his own.
But Lennox, they may have a chance in the parliament to win nothing that Kamala win.
Of course. Mr. Faizabad, just hold on.
Apart from being stupid for the past 10 years,
Yes.
you know going to the parents and protest against Kamala?
Yeah, nobody doing that. Nobody doing that. That's an exercise in futility. That's to look for relevance and to look for traction, to look to show that the 1,000 persons that left the party and left it high and dry, that somehow they have political currency and that they could spend it. They could spend it in a way to, of course, get back where they were. That is madness.
That's total madness.
Yeah. All right.
Total madness. All right, go ahead, Faizabad.
Yeah. Good night, Mr. Faizabad. Go ahead. Mr. Faizabad, go ahead.
Good night to Uncle Lennox and
Yes,
all
ma'am.
your listeners.
Yes.
Share live.
For a moment there, I got a little timid. For a moment, I got a little timid. I said, like, it's only you. We are having audio problems, but I realize that that is not so. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we asked them all to share the live.
Yes.
Tell them Uncle Lennox is bad talking the PRM once again. And to call all the PRM students and let them that Uncle Lennox is on and listen to what we are saying. And all will make the right decision. We need 40,000 viewers. And if you can't view and you go to bed early, you can send our $5 to Uncle Lennox account. So we can make the 40,000. So Uncle Lennox.
Hey.
Now, you see you're talking about Paris.
Yeah.
So I go and follow you. I quoted you, eh?
No problem. No problem. What's your quote, me? You're on fertile soil. Nothing could interfere with you. You're well protected, in other words.
Yeah, I know. Somewhere up in the Ivory Coast, it has fertile soil in the center of the sea, you know. Trees will be growing in the center of the sea. But anyway, let me ask you this, right?
Yes.
Why you leave out the part?
Mr. Sando, just
Paris,
hold on. We have another caller from Faizabad on the line. Go ahead, Mr.
Right.
Yeah.
And I want to apologize to Mr. Takarigua. I is not follow this holy line, but you interrupt the man to give me. But why this? You didn't say Faris Harari, right? And you asked him, who signed all these contracts, 4 years contract, for the CPET contractors and them, without authorization and documentation? You didn't ask him on that, and you didn't ask the callers and them who have an idea who gave you authorization. Because the permanent secretaries and them is the ministers. So I only hope when the audit pass and things looking fraudulent, I only hope they could go and sit down in the jail. Because the SRC increased their salary and said already said it work very hard. So I wonder if we get them increase in the salary to be faithful to them and to mash up any and to make it ungovernable. But Faris did say that yes, it have unemployment come in and the board and they had to change. But he did say that the cut back on the CPEP contract and them since last year in August. And they started to restructure the group at the ERP. And then for election, they bullied them to come, and now cause them election. But we don't want to talk about that. Because Faris and Richard Young, right? Stuart Young, he come in the government first time and he gone in the archive or the constitution and say it have things like sedition, treason, right? Treason to the state, right? And what they call the next one? Where we will overthrow the government. Eh? But I want them to know when they make it a statement that he gave 12 months. Is it that a man in the PNM went to America, $75,000 and thief a man apartment, and when he come back to Trinidad, you put him down in Venezuela? That we have an ambassador in Venezuela? one who is questionable in the actions. So how it is that ambassador wasn't reached by the Secretary of Defense in Venezuela and talk about what's going on, and they're talking about diplomacy? I want all the PNM stools and YouTubers and them to take my esteemed political leader, the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bissasa's statement, and shove it right up and all in where the monkey put the nuts. Right? Because I stand ready, and I ask her now that she shall go and recruit for volunteers to join the army. And here what's going on. That when them kind of thing come about, then the PNM and Rowley will know. And as I always say, they had to refund somebody their money, you know. And I only hope they could go to Denmark and go wrong to Ghana and come back to Denmark because they can't go to America again. So I only hope when they go to Denmark, with both what is used, nitrogen to run, right? Ethanol. I only hope they have to refund people money where they get upfront. And if Maduro feel he can bully my prime minister to get $1 million US, tell him go and ask Short Young. So here what's going on. You're touching on nothing. I want to hear what you have to say about Nikon. And I hope you call Louis name in that scenario. And now I want to hear who is the shareholder and who have an obligation through the bank to make sure that the bank make profit for the shareholders. Because that's like what they do in NGL. We'll talk later. I have an next call.
Yes, my friend. As a beginning point about the mention of monkey putting nuts, because it reminds me, because I'm saying that I've started to, last night. In fact, I'm saying that don't be surprised if Rowley is involved in that what I consider concoction that was bellowed across the Gulf of Paria by Maduro. And of course, you're quite right. Dylan is in Venezuela. He could have, of course, direct their concerns there in Venezuela. And of course, the representative, the emissary, Dylan, for Trinidad and Tobago station in Venezuela, had to be intrinsically involved. We are not hearing from him at all, or I don't know if the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and CARICOM matters are in contact, but certainly that is someone that is there that ought to be, of course, addressing Trinidad and Tobago and the Venezuelan population, vice versa, as to different positions taken and why on this particular matter that has been alleged by the Venezuelan government, that of course a group of individuals from through Trinidad or from Trinidad, including a Trinidadian at least, would have been in Venezuela to essentially destabilize or terrorize that country. Very, very, very interesting. But don't be surprised, because these elaborate phantasmagorical stories, we saw that very frequent with Rowley, whether it be, of course, the email gate, whether it be, of course, that honorary degree that he went up to the United States for, and we can go on and on. But a pleasant good night to San Fernando. Welcome.
Yeah, hello, good night.
Good night.
I ain't get the link yet, sir.
Okay, oh boy. Like it's only you.
Well, that's the first thing.
Oh yeah, the link, yeah, I still have to give you the link. Oh yes. Ah boy, all right,
yeah,
go ahead, yes.
But what I want to say tonight, my contribution tonight.
Yes.
Some people are wondering as to why a Ministry of Defense. Right? This is the big argument or issue out there right now in terms of the Venezuelan issue.
All right.
Right? Why a Ministry of Defense? Why did she make up a Ministry of Defense? Now, remember, right, that the NAR was in power from 1986 to 1990, right?
91.
91.
Yes.
But they had the 1990 coup.
Coup, yes.
So,
yes.
And under that regime, Kamala would have been Attorney General, then Minister of Education and that kind of stuff, right? So she would have had the experience from since then to know the configuration of government and how government really works, right? At least the Trinidad from the Trinidad faction of it, right? Or we in the sovereign state too, right?
Yeah.
Right. So she would have had some experience as to know, because you remember when that 1990 coup happened.
Yeah.
I don't think Robinson and them were fully aware that that was coming.
Yeah.
Right?
No, you're right.
So,
Otherwise, they would have taken preemptive action.
That's right. So now, fast forward to 2025, this election year, and well, from 2020 to 2025. The Dragon deal was started under the last regime.
Mr. Lavendale, just hold on. We have a caller on the handset. All right. Yeah, go ahead, Mr.
The Dragon deal would have started under the last regime.
Yeah.
No, we know, or let us just look at the facts here. The fact is that Venezuela is under sanctions from the United States of America. So too is Cuba. Now, Trinidad and Tobago only has, 1.5 million people.
Yeah.
Right? And, okay, we know for a fact that we cannot really overpower Venezuela with that kind of numbers because we don't have enough soldiers to really overpower anybody.
Of course, and assets, and military
Right,
assets.
that's right.
And
Right?
marine assets,
So-
military and marine assets.
So my point is, right, when Kamala made this, everybody wondering why a Ministry of Defense. So, okay, if you don't have a Ministry of Defense, and remember, she has the experience, so she said no, right? If anything happens, for me, I'm saying it like this. If anything happens, I would want to know what is taking place internally, because internally is in Trinidad here, right? But externally is much more difficult to overcome, right?
Yeah,
But you must have a sort of defense for your people, right? Now, let us say that the Venezuelans is on the waters, and we have nothing to really see a ship or 2-3 ships coming. What do you think is going to happen to Trinidad? If even then, let us just say it's a 1 foot on water. Venezuelans are starting to attack.
All right. Don't forget, we have another caller on the line, so you have to speed up.
Then just let Venezuela overtake. Okay, pass. Don't do nothing. Don't tell them anything. Just let everything pass and come to Trinidad, and then the next thing you know, Trinidad done.
All right. Thanks. Yes.
You follow where I'm coming from?
Yeah. I'm following where you're coming from. Yes.
So, 11 boats was bought. What did the past regime do with that 11 boats? Right? So, our borders are not protected for us to know if anybody coming through with guns.
Yeah, so therefore you have a Ministry of Defense in order to treat specifically with that matter. Yeah, to deal with our marine assets, our exclusive economic zone, and of course to monitor people coming in illegally, especially with contraband. All right.
So the argument to say that we shouldn't have a Ministry of Defense or we shouldn't have nothing.
Yeah, it's a nonsensical one. Thanks very much. Yeah.
A nonsensical argument.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks very much. Yeah.
So yeah. But send the link to me.
Yeah, I will, boy. I keep forgetting, but I'll try to do it tonight. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Lavington. Sorry about that. That caller, I gave him a little laxity because he was trying all night to call. But go ahead. Yes.
Can I tell everybody live?
Yes.
Mr. Lennox, listen now.
Yeah.
Earlier on, you were speaking about the conversation about Rowley, that big nose, ugly, bald-head man.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, what happening now? I feel right? What you just said earlier on there is exactly what it is, because I was going to call to tell you that just didn't happen just so, you know. Because I remember the email gate.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
that whole
These
email gate started.
These elaborate
It started a false premise.
Yeah.
You know, and I
Anything
think that's what we
elaborate like that.
supposing this whole thing with Rowley is Rowley Stuart Young, and God alone know what happened with whatever deals they made in Venezuela, and how this thing look like it's so well connected. You understand that Venezuela, this
because how come the ambassador,
not this terrorist,
the ambassador is
right,
not involved,
could actually, you know, make such a statement like that, and had the whole of the Caribbean and now, because everybody in a uproar. You know, and this resembles Immigrate in a real serious way.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. That's it?
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
So I'm glad that people are catching up to the possibility that it is part of another one of Rowley's utilizing his brain and his knowledge for pernicious, evil, and wicked and diabolical reasons, as we saw him, of course, on a regular basis, as he performed against Trinidad and Tobago's interests whilst he was Prime Minister. So I will not put it beyond any stretch of the imagination that he would have been part and parcel of that elaborate charade that was bellowed across the Gulf of Paria from Venezuela. I have no doubt in my mind he is capable of doing these kinds of phantasmagorical inventions. But of course, that being as it may, somebody raised the issue about Rowley and his nasty mouth. So let's take a look at that as well. President,
clip of some school children from one of us.
Let's pause it there and go ahead, caller.
Hello, Mr. Good night, Mr. Williams.
Good night to you, my friend.
This is Rio Claro, number one calling.
Yes, man. A pleasant good night to you. How is Rio Claro? Plenty rain, what?
Yes.
Well, a lot of rain. All right. Okay. Well, here is clear skies. Clear skies. A beautiful, cool night in Port of Spain.
Yes. Mr. Lena?
Yes.
Everybody talking everything, all kind of thing, listen, you know what the problem is? Why it is Maduro threatening this country and Rowley and them agreeing with him instead of the Prime Minister here? Right? There's something behind that, you know? Right? These people say
Yeah. I thought out of my mind. We just got to put our hands on it, and of course they will claim innocence. They will claim, that they are not involved. Culpability doesn't rest with them, but we know that in itself is a pattern of behavior. They're always saying there is not, or they are not engaged, and then when of course the evidence come out that is so embarrassing, then of course they then say yes, like the case of the Police Service Commission, and of course the Nelson Gate matter. So they always pleading the Fifth Amendment. They say, I don't know, I'm not disclosing. But when of course the information comes out, because there are righteous people in the system that will of course send the information to where it matters. They call them of course what I consider to be loyal whistleblowers. But go ahead.
I feel they're trying to destabilize the country because they lost the election and they're trying to...
That's exactly where it is pointing to. Thank you very much for being that discerning, my friend.
Yes, okay. Well, I believe that's the whole point about it. And all the PNM against they're not patriotic.
Yeah. There's something sinister. Concocting, conspiring. We saw, of course, the entire cabinet conspired to close down Petrotrin,
Yeah, they closed down
the
Petrotrin.
entire cabinet conspired to eviscerate the procurement legislation, so that they and their friends and family can feast over the largesse of the state, you know. That is what these people are capable of doing. And we must take them serious. Let them hold their tails.
Yes, Mr. Lennox.
Yes, ma'am.
So that is my contribution.
No problem, man. No.
I'm going very good.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Keep it up.
Yes, thank you very much. And I want to say this before, of course, I play Rowley and his what I consider to be garrulous, poisonous verbalizations. You know what I say? Garrulous, poisonous verbalizations. And today, of course, you had the Minister of Education talking hogwash because the table has turned and that they suddenly can wash themselves, absorb themselves from the iniquities that they would have engaged in, ferment. And now that it has manifestly matured, they want to say that they weren't involved. But I want to tell the trolls and them, the PNM trolls, once again, you're backing up a stupid, silly, nincompoopish tree. And I want to say that that tree, preferably, is a Grigobef tree, and that you should be in the heart. I'm talking about the top of it, to get what you deserve for your stupidity. You see, the lack of knowledge is extremely destructive, and if it is that your intent by utilizing information is one to, of course, undermine and to not set people free so that they can think, they can be creative, and they can find solutions to not only their own problems but that of the neighborhood and the country, you're wasting time, as you have been doing, utilizing, of course, valuable internet and the money associated with it. Send it to me. You see, nobody could have told me to go on a rampage on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, of course, and any one of the other, Instagram, etc., any one of the other social media platforms, to criticize Kamala Persad-Bissessar because the statement she made, and of course the fact that they don't have the artillery or the wherewithal to have a battle with Venezuela, knowing fully well that it was the Venezuelans that of course initiated the first salvo. You know it. So all she did was respond. She's not the aggressor. She's not the aggressor. You have to be stupid to suddenly lift that scenario and impose it on the Prime Minister of the country. Lift it up wholesale and put it on the Prime Minister simply because you have a PNM agenda. That is stupid. You look like a fool. Because it's easy for a fellow like me to make all your, by way of argument, fall on all your own dagger. All you spit in the sky and hopefully it's acid and it fall in all your faces. That level of stupidity. You see, to say that we don't have assets and to say we don't have a navy that could combat the Venezuelans. First and foremost, you should know that Kamala Persad-Bissessar is not talking, and more importantly, is aware that that is so. You cannot be more knowledgeable than her in the position that she holds. She must know when she make that statement that your infringement will be treated with violent response. You must know that. And therefore your common sense will tell you, well, listen, it will take you to, of course, Trinidad and Tobago have ship rider agreement with the United States. And we just had, of course, another one signed with a military component. Why do you think she's talking like that? Why are you so damn stupid, man? You have to be a total empty vessel making plenty noise on social media. Go ahead, as Eric William once said, let the jackasses bray. Bray, bray, bray. Because you see, Rowley and them could have never get me, Short Young, Penelope Beckles, to, of course, put pen to paper or talk, or put pen to digital, what I consider to be signatory. Yeah, I cannot, I will not, I refuse to be taken for a fool, for an ass. Because I simply have to look at Guyana and draw my case and ask them, well, if it is that we don't have assets to fight, and the Prime Minister make a statement like that, well, Guyana has a smaller population than us, by far, only 800,000 thereabout. And Ofan Ali, the president there, made similar overtures to Maduro, to the president of Venezuela. Yeah, made similar. We have more military assets than Guyana. We have a bigger army than Guyana. You didn't know that? You didn't know to think? And Guyana has more at stake to protect than we. He just say that a group of persons coming to undermine his government, and the best thing that could have happened is that, of course, an investigation take place on either side of the Gulf of Paria, as was the case, and as they said preliminarily. And on the one hand, they found no evidence of anybody from Trinidad. And Venezuela, correspondingly, did not give any evidence of somebody from Trinidad that we could, of course, verify. They must have family, they must have records, they must have IDs, etc. They must born somewhere in Trinidad if they were Trinidadians. They must have family, and somebody would have come forward if it was their family or relative or son or daughter, as the case may be. Yeah? But Guyana's president said to Maduro, if you touch a piece of our territory, the Essequibo in this case, you will come up against us. Yes. Guyana has only 800,000 people and hardly have vessels like us. We have 12 Damians. We have, of course, 1 or 2 other Coast Guard oriented with guns. I don't even think Guyana has a Coast Guard, because there is no need. Because they have a seafront that is, of course, very short in terms of this distance. But the rest of the country, and the east, the west, and the south, is landlocked or land bordered, with 1 or 2 rivers coming in between. But the fact of the matter is, why you ain't say that about he? Why you ain't say that? Like what you're saying about Kamala Prasad Bisasa, that is stupid, and that is, of course, according to Rowley, that is mad, and etc., etc. Why? Why is it? Because you are being led down a gum tree. I prefer to say up a Grugubef tree and stay where the leaves are. So it's just so stupid. So stupid. You take that kind of basket and go and talk things that you don't know or things that is easily figured out, rationalized, and know that is hogwash you're talking, or writing, or blogging, or on the chat, or chatting. Come on. Come on. You mash up like chili baby because it's a stupid statement. And you're running with it as if, well, what should I go do? Should I know army? And that time the aggressor is Maduro in the first place. You think Kamala don't know that we don't have an army that could compete with maybe a million soldiers, and of course artillery like will make, of course, ours look like as though it's a play in the park. You don't know that? You don't know? Well, you know tonight. And you know last night as well. Can't bring no argument here. Trying, of course, to undermine and to promote an argument that is a non-argument, nonsensical, asinine, dotish. And maybe you should, of course, for your stupidity, take a dose or try to take a dose of copophrasia. People who eat their own blasted filth. Eat it. Eat your filth. Copophagia. Fed up by all this stupidity. And I hope nobody from Laventille and Beetham and Sealets and so on engage in that. Because once you open your mouth and you bring that kind of stupid argument, open your mouth and bring that kind of stupid argument, the best you remain silent. Because when you open your mouth, whether it be on Facebook or on any one of the social media platforms, you expose your stupidity. Guyana has a smaller population. They don't have an army as big as ours. Yet still they tell Maduro the same damn thing and worse. Don't touch a piece of the Essequibo. Don't touch a piece. How are you rationalizing that? Yes, I know it's a boomerang talk, so you had to be feeling stupid. Have to be feeling stupid. You have a simple example there. But what I could tell you now, that CARICOM will be the beneficiary of that approach, because it means, therefore, Trinidad and Tobago is locked tight with Guyana now. Not like Rowley and Sochong and they handsy-pansying with Maduro, going and do the Congo line, etc. And playing that they're friendly with Guyana, a member of CARICOM. Nobody is stupid. Guyana must know that. And because of diplomacy, they will, of course, interact. And Rowley and they will engage, not overtly, but clandestinely. Preferring, of course, to deal with Venezuela. You think Guyana don't know that? You think the United States don't know that? Because your conduct, action speaks louder than words. And an ounce of action is better than a pound of talk. And Rowley and them only giving you talk. But the action is the antithesis to what they was talking. So we know nobody's stupid. And Rowley believed that he could sell ice in hell. He believed he could fool the devil. They sell ice in hell, the PNM. But as the old people say, one day Kongote, they must catch up with you. One day for police. And you can have all the run you run. Well, the police have caught up with the PNM and Rowley and they. And you can be so stupid to go and commit suicide, in whatever form, political, intellectual, or common sense, irrational, whatever, committing suicide by taking what Rowley and they say and the PNM. Come on. All you have to do is to say, well, listen, the president of Guyana, a CARICOM brother or sister, whatever you want to call them, said the same thing to Maduro, you know. And they have less population than we. It's just about 800,000. And they hardly have, in fact, we have more assets than them. A bigger army than them. Why? They could talk so. Because the United States is backing them. You think Exxon, the largest oil company in the world, there for joke? You think the United States will allow anybody to interfere with them? Or to interfere with Guyana because it's from their God-given resource recently discovered that they're extracting for, of course, international use to augment the energy, but I consider to be resource, the energy system, the energy accumulation, the energy inventory, not just in the United States. So let us not waste time. I thought it was important, of course, that for your own sake, stop making yourselves fools. Do not do like Rowley, who is not a fool, but will see you as a fool and say things for you to be emotive about. Like, for example, and I thought I should say it one time, when Kamala talked about a dome over Trinidad and Tobago, a dome, and that, of course, the 12 or dozen ships that was acquired to make our borders less porous. We tell all they put a dome, suggesting some kind of Wi-Fi scenario. The same thing, of course, when she said that she is going to take the excess money after they would have put aside money for contingency purposes. The institution that we all are aware of and have benefited Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, it was created by under the PNM. Is one of the success stories. I agree with that. But she said that during the COVID and coming out of the COVID, she would use the excess money and, of course, keep people employed. Because of the ravaged nature of COVID, the lockdown scenario, etc. And therefore, you want, of course, to keep people employed because they had to put food on the table. Yet still you have today, Al-Rawi saying that somehow CPEP workers and URP workers will be affected. No. He wants you to become emotional, to protect him from what is to come. Yeah, that's what that is all about. He fully well knows that all political appointees must go, whether it be URP, CPEP, whether it be, of course, UDICOT, whether it be East Portsmouth Development Company, and all of them, market boards, etc., have to go. They are political appointees. But he tried to commingle it to fool you. And you gone off. About time you take charge of your senses, man. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Doctor.
Good night to you, my friend.
Good night, Trinidad and Tobago. Good night, worldwide. Dr. All I called to tell you tonight is that he is my leader. You understand? I respect you, and you're very strong. And I want you to stay strong. All right, because you're doing the work of a king. I must big you up. You understand?
Thank you very much.
So stay strong, my brother.
Yes.
In God's name.
Thank you. Wow. Just to say that, I feel very elated. I feel not vindicated. Vindicated is not the word, but I feel very honored to be so described. Thank you very much. But what will give me greater satisfaction that these trolls and them that making us storm in a teacup and believing that somehow they could gain traction. What Rowley and of course Faris Al-Rari has achieved is deepening, widening the animosity, the anathema against them by the people. Those who even voted for them in the 13th parliament of the country. That's what they have achieved. And let them go ahead, let the jackasses bury. And you must get much more intensely hatred of them. That's what you have to do. They could have said, well, look, Guyana president who has no army at all, or a little army, is talking the same language that Kamala Prasad Bisasa. Right? And where you gain protection from? Why you could say that? The big bully in Venezuela. Your common sense will lead you straight to, of course, the same arrangement we have with the United States. It's the same arrangement they have. In fact, theirs was signed before they came here. The renewal of it. That Rowley claimed that he did not sign on for any military assets of the United States to stage any kind of military action against Venezuela from Trinidad. Rowley said that. But in fact, that is part of the arrangement. That they can do that. But of course, they need the consent of the government of the day. Let us not waste time. But let's hear some of course, Rowley's, what I consider to be belligerent, obnoxious, nasty, misogynic, foul language, reference to his own citizens on whom he depended for a vote, and he has achieved, of course, total destruction of the PNM. Tobago first, and now in Trinidad. Well done, Trinidad. I'm proud of you, man. It should have been 39. 39, nothing for them. And let another party maybe take root. Because like a tiger, PNM cannot change their stripes. And like a leopard, they cannot change their spots either. Let's hear what Rowley had to say in time past about these same young people who, of course, Dolly seem to have some kind of sympathy for now, but the evidence shows that it never was.
Clip of some school children from one of our schools in the West, young girls behaving in a manner like hyenas in the African jungle. Parents who breed monsters at home and send these monsters to teachers. Well, clip of some school children from one of our schools in the West, young girls behaving in a manner like hyenas in the African jungle. Parents who breed monsters at home and send these monsters to teachers.
Well, let's imagine that. Parents breeding monsters at home and sending these monsters to teachers. That is what your former Prime Minister say. For that alone, he should have been earlier out of government in 2020. Yes, a very toxic, a very virulent, a very obnoxious, very disrespectful, and with a high degree of audaciousness, as if he has a right to so to do, to be so pernicious. His toxicity knows no boundary as far as his bellicose language against his own people. That is why I frequently would have said that the PNM government, when it was in office, would have been the existential threat to Trinidad and Tobago. Then, threat to Trinidad and Tobago as the weaponized government against the people. You know what Kamala Prasad Bisasa saved all of us from? Today, if you to take God out your thoughts and go and vote these vagrants, these hustlers, these opportunists, these political vipers, who are now 13 of them in the 13th Parliament. For sure, property tax in your tail, more raising of gas and the cost of living, and Rowley will come and tell you things like this.
Clip of some school children from one of our schools in the West, young girls behaving in a manner like hyenas in the African jungle. Parents who breed monsters at home and send these monsters to teachers. Well, clip of some school children from one of our schools in the West, young girls behaving in a manner like hyenas in the African jungle. Parents who breed monsters at home and send these monsters to teachers.
And for good measure, because we have reached the end of the program tonight, and for good measure, listen to this. Misogynic to the core, hater of women as well. So not only the crucible, the cradle that keeps human existence alive by way of procreation. Hear what Rowley had to say about them. Yeah. Yeah, we have to say about them.
Clip of some school children from one of our schools in the West, young girls behaving in a manner like hyenas in the African jungle. Parents who breed monsters at home and send these monsters to teachers.
Well, I want to tell Mr. Prasad Bisasa tonight,
listen to
that is none of your goddamn business. Because as long as Sharon is happy with how much I have outside and how much I have inside, Rowley's happy with that. At least what I had outside and what I have inside, they escape and they're alive.
Her words are slurred. She's falling down all over the world. In the car, out the car. No. No man ain't digging up my bottom like that. No.
You ain't hearing him? He's saying that no man is digging up in the bottom like that. That that evil son of a gun. Yes, I know people are angry and they want to get in, but of course we are about to end. But go ahead, caller, I'll take this call.
Lennox,
yeah.
You're supposed to add in front of that PNM. So you're supposed to say PNM monsters, PNM hyenas. Because that was Gatsby Dolly saying, no, not me, you know. Gatsby Dolly said that yesterday.
But that's not a problem to adjust it to suit. I will put her in front of it as well on the next one to re-edit
it.
Yes,
because if she say that be true, she say she get records of that, you know.
Right.
Files
yeah, I heard it, but I can swear it was an AI production. So
I was watching it, but then I realized it was in the news, so it's not no AI, it's the truth.
All right, good. Thanks.
Right?
Yes.
Lennox.
Oh, gosh. Sorry about that, but sorry about that. Call back. I thought you finished. Because I want to play off this particular video.
No man ain't taking up like that. I mean, there's some people who know they're getting on, you know. Kamala Prasad, Bisesa, and the UNC go and put that bill where the monkey put the nuts. A most vulgar and outrageous radio program was on the airwaves called The Ground.
He talking about we now on the ground report. We are all passed in this nasty, foul-mouthed fella who, of course, is a total dunderhead, rockhead, and, of course, studied too much rocks. I understand he's a geologist and a volcanologist. I think one of those volcanoes should have erupted some time ago with he inside of it. So we wouldn't have the pain of this kind of memory.
Report. You all remember that? In that report, it was the nastiest, dirty. As a matter of fact, what caught my attention was how filthy the program was on our airwaves. And I was asking myself, how could this be permitted on the airwaves of Trinidad and Tobago, election or no election? And it was all about me and my father and my mother and this, and I had raped this, and I had done that, and the ground report.
And people, of course, for all of 10 years, I called the man every night on this program a rapist and a pedophile, and I'm still doing it. By saying what I was doing, I'm also saying at the same time that he is a rapist and a pedophile. He can't do me nothing. The truth is the greatest defense to defamation. So I have not defamed him. And we never spoke about his mother. He make up that in order to fool you, the sycophants and the apologists and only so stupid, only fall for that and give you 2 terms.
And it was being conducted by known felons. The government is not closing down Petrotrin. And in case you were just opening your fridge and you didn't hear that when you closed the door, let me repeat it. The government of Trinidad and Tobago, is not closing down Petrotrin.
I will tell you, like she loved me, like she loved Northern Ireland. And because she knows that I love women, she thinks I love any woman. I have taste. A lawyer who was on the verge of being your attorney general, sucking from the middle of the panties, it licks in your waist, licks in your face, and licks all over your paper place. And she could jump high, she could jump low. She could drink this, she could drink that. She could back on the dog, because they know she jack.
Coming with a coattail telling you, vote for Kamala. That is tantamount to hugging up a porcupine to go to bed.
Minister, I'd like to take the conversation to a more social realm, the social climate. You look on social media.
It's Christmas time, we should have some drinks then.
Well, perhaps of the non-alcoholic flavor.
Well, that is not a drink. You gotta force like a woman. You gotta groom her every day. Otherwise it turns into a pasture. I choose my words very carefully. You could behave as an effective opposition leader. I think the country is better for that. But geometry is not really the way to deal with these things. 1/3 of the murders in recent times are domestic violence or domestic issues. And then that, you call on the Prime Minister to do something about crime. I'm not in your bedroom, I'm not in your choice of men. Call on the Prime Minister to do something about crime. I'm not in your bedroom, I'm not in your choice of men.
Well, I want to tell this vagrant called Keith Christopher Rowley, because he knocking all over the place, pillar to post, looking for relevance and trying to avoid maybe some hitman from Venezuela because of the promises that was made. Don't put it past them, you know. It just is how, don't put it past him that he's part and parcel of the conspiracy to, of course, bellow across the Gulf of Paria what Maduro said. You must not get involved because you are pursuing their agenda. They're looking to save the skins. Maybe some hitman from across there, because I'm sure money pass. Our money, their money, and they expected more. And today, current Prime Minister said the dragon deal is dead. And here him, voting for Kamala is like hugging up a porcupine. Well, that's how stinky he is. Stinky is. Yeah. A skunk and a porcupine hybrid. Skunk. But everybody afraid he. In the sense of course, he's no damn good for Trinidad and Tobago. That is what they afraid him about. So that is why they got rid of he and his whole shabang. People, of course, we have come to the end. There are people in the audience that are also irritated, and they are bellowing, of course, in my direction. Yes, my friend. Yeah, boy, it's easy. Yes, no PNM after this blasting. Yeah, waste of time. Let me just make certain that you understand. Yes. Yeah. So that is the room in which we are, and of course the people are there viewing, and of course like to get it live rather than get it. Should I say second hand? All right, let's go. A pleasant good night.
Hello, good night, Lennox.
Good night. Final call.
There's a boy from Canada here, down from Central.
Yes, man.
How is he happening? I see he putting on a strong program there right now.
Yes, man. Yes. So we are.
But I've had to ask himself, who he welcome in the bed, you know what I mean, say? Who he was sleeping with all the time. You understand?
Yeah.
But to be quite frank with you, he's one of the nastiest person ever held office in Trinidad.
Oh yes.
Not one. He is the nastiest one that ever held office in Trinidad.
The most hated as well.
You know? So, and he behaved in a manner with no respect.
Yeah.
For anybody whatsoever in the country.
That's right.
That who he have been through his whole life. He was very educated, but he was an educated fool.
Yeah, that's right.
Very educated,
a
educated
destructive
fool.
one at that. A destructive one at that. Education for destruction, for sinister motives and reasons, for pernicious intent, and for destruction of people's lives.
But he portrayed himself like one of the most bitter persons in life. He have never been satisfied. He probably said about a wanting or a longing in his life that would never come to him.
Yeah.
You understand? And all the money he have and whatever he have, I only hope he could buy enough Pampers when he get old.
Yeah, so many people for the last 10 years have, of course, as my mother would normally say, put the mouth water on them, and when little children do the same, you know what happened here? It's bitter be your days.
You don't really wish anybody, to suffer. But at the end of the day, he put suffering to so many people in
That's
Trinidad
right,
and
and the
Tobago.
exceptions to the rule, that's right.
Yeah. He have suffered many people.
Yes, too many.
I don't think he could smile himself the whole better he is.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah, man, naturally wicked,
So-
man. All right, thanks
So,
very much.
have a good night.
And we will
Take
talk,
care, all
yes.
the best.
Tomorrow is Monday,
Sure,
so we'll
take care.
talk, yes, indeed. Yes, thanks very much, of course, for that Canadian call, but that's the final call, people. So I showed you what is happening in studio, and of course, we still give a religious tone to the Sunday night program. So we will end, of course, as we normally would do. We have an anthem that we normally would play. Let me make sure, of course, and get it lined up before I make my final commiserations, if you want to call it that, as far as, of course, making certain and inviting you to tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, of course, don't forget from 6 o'clock, the ground report, Andy, Mike, and myself. And then we get back here at 8 o'clock in the night, yes, for the corridor transformation. Man, we are really moving and going places. Don't forget, of course, share. Don't forget to tell a friend, and don't forget, of course, to make certain that what you do is nestled always in some kind of information that will always put you on the right course and on the right path. It's very important that you get knowledge about something, whatever it is that you are pursuing, get the knowledge and make sure that you don't make any mistakes in that process. Yes, indeed. Well, of course, we have come to the end of the program. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. I don't think I'll be able. Yes, I will be. I have to communicate with the Prime Minister tonight, so I will be doing so. And then of course, go to bed. I didn't sleep for the day. I had to prepare for today's program and several letters to be handed out tomorrow. A lot of work, but that is how it is. We cannot rest until, of course, the people are served. And once the people are not served, you cannot, of course, feel comforted or comfortable. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. Don't forget again, once again, tomorrow morning, Andy, Mike, and myself from 6 o'clock on the ground report as we continue with this. Don't forget we are on Guyana TV as well. I think around the same time, if not around 7 o'clock. And I think about 8 o'clock, or just before 8, I have to leave because I have another radio program that I will be physically engaged, and my deputy political leader will be going with me so that we could talk about certain things that are going to be happening. I'm not going to disclose anything until, of course, you see it and until the exercise would have been exhausted or completed. Have a wonderful one.